Good morning. This is a mic check, and it sounds like it's working. That's excellent news.
Aha! That could make a difference.
Yeah, sounds lit.
Yeah, it's on. So.
Remember to use your preacher voice for the lapel mic.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we need to test it out or not? You can hear it okay? Okay. Just a few minutes and then it's done. Good morning. This is a day that's filled with different activities here at the church, and so we hope that many of you can participate in all of them. And of course, we begin with our service today. My name is Doyle Dobbins, and I'm the worship associate for our service here at First Unitarian Church, Wilmington. And I want to welcome all of you, regardless of where you're from, what your background is, what you ate for breakfast, or whether you had breakfast. Hopefully you had some honey. And I want to welcome you for this special day. This is the Sunday before Thanksgiving. So welcome to the Sunday before Thanksgiving as we think of kicking off our Thanksgiving week. I want to welcome you also because this is our wrap-up of Guest at Your Table, the program that we have each year, which reminds us of the work of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee and how we can support and participate with the Service Committee in doing social justice, civil rights, and other kinds of work of that sort around the world. And we're especially pleased today that we can welcome Laura Randall back. I think she was here with us for the first time in 2019. How many years ago was that? Yeah, it seems like it. And Laura is currently the Director of Congregational Relations at UUSC, the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. And we are glad that she can return and will be our guest speaker today.
Don't mind me. We haven't entered into a time of worship yet. So.
Okay. Our technician. Anyway, we're pleased to have Laura here as our guest speaker this morning, and she is an ordained UU minister, and she's worked in various capacities with the UU Association. The title of her sermon today is "We Are With You, the Power of Global Solidarity." So we're looking forward to that. And also with Laura, we'd like to welcome Julian Sharp, who rang the gong for us. And Julian he's kind of a new employee of UUSC, about 4 or 5 months now. And Julian is the senior associate for congregational support. Now, I think his assignments include managing and promoting guests to your table. So I would guess that we'll get better acquainted with Julian in coming years. Okay, also, I'd like to announce a couple of other things. Today, we will be having just a brief time for meet and greeting after the service, and that will be followed by a vegan lunch, Thanksgiving lunch here at the church in the fellowship hall. And if you would like to participate in that, we would encourage you to do so. And then following the lunch, we'll have a program here in the sanctuary at 1 o'clock, and the acronym is CAPAS, or if we broaden it out, it has to do with how can we work with refugees and asylum seekers. And Laura and Julian will be participating in that, along with a representative from the Jewish Family Services. And we hope that many of you can participate in that program too. Because, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with refugees and asylum seekers. So, let's see. I think I've covered all the announcements. No, there's one more. Becky Lassiter, who is our chair of the Human Rights Task Force, has asked that I announce that she needs a few more, and she's standing over here, a few more people to help out with UU the vote. And, we have an important vote coming up soon, and so if you can help out with that program, please see Becky after the service. Do you want to hand out the... Okay. So if you can help in that project, that would be very good. Okay, with these various announcements and the welcome, let us now plan to participate fully in our service by quietly and carefully listening to the prelude.
Good morning. I offer these words from Laura Horton Ludwig. The wheel of the year has turned again. Once more, the Thanksgiving season has arrived. How shall we sing our song of gratitude now? For what shall we give thanks? For this moment, for friends near and far, for our breath, for love, for courage and clarity, for strength, for delight, for laughter, for beauty, for tables round which we gather, for the food we enjoy with friends, seasoned with love and memory, for the sun and moon and stars in the sky, for the trees who have seen so much and still stand proud, stretching themselves to the sky, for the bright voices of children, for the wisdom of elders, for actions that bless the world, for hard work that makes a difference, for music and art and celebration, for generosity, for compassion, for endurance, for joy, for hope. For all these things, we give thanks and we worship together.
As we light our chalice today, I would invite anyone who is participating in the service online to, if you have a chalice, to light it at this time in your home. So we light the chalice to honor those who created the chalice, to symbolically bring light to the injustice and the darkness which many people experienced during World War II. We light the chalice to honor our Unitarian Universalist Service Committee ancestors. The Service Committee has been doing work for us for many years, so we honor all of those who took part in the fight for justice in the years that have gone by. And we also light the chalice to symbolize our current day commitment to partnering with UUSC staff to continue fighting injustice wherever we find it. So be it. And now let us sing together hymn number 349 in the blue hymnal. And now let us together affirm our mission in unison. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action. For our prayer and meditation time today, if we think about it, there's so many of what I would call hot spots of injustice around the world that any one of them can grab our attention at any given time. So for our meditation today, I would like to focus our attention on an extreme and cruel injustice situation in Myanmar, often called Burma. Please listen as I read a quote from one of our UUSC partners. For decades, the people of Burma, Myanmar, have experienced discrimination, persecution, and violent oppression by the military directed against ethnic and religious minorities. In February 2021, the military attempted to wrest control from the duly elected civilian government. In the face of public protests, the military has killed more than 2,000 people, 2,000 civilians, and imprisoned 15,000 more. Executions of pro-democracy leaders are now following sham trials by the military. It is estimated that more than 1 million people have been displaced. Most ethnic groups have never known life without conflict. Attacks by the military have destroyed entire villages, forcing many people to flee to Thailand, Bangladesh, and elsewhere. So, in our comfortable living situations, during this time of quiet reflection, I'd like for you to think about the people in Myanmar, Burma, reflect on their situation. And we might think, well, it sounds kind of hopeless. But actually, it's not hopeless, because UUSC is one of a number of international organizations fighting the injustice in Myanmar and bringing hope to the people who live there. So in a moment of silence, let's focus on the tragic injustices and remember that we, in partnership with UUSC and other organizations, can help bring hope to the people of Myanmar, who certainly deserve our support and care. For a moment, let's be in quiet reflection. And now as we think about people for whom we have concern, you may think of people in faraway places, or you may think of people here in our community, maybe a friend, or a family member, or a neighbor. In this quietness, please speak their names, or if you are online, please write them in the chat. Please speak the names at this point. May all whose names were spoken and those unspoken find support, peace, and healing today.
Good morning. Our reading this morning comes from Brian Stout and also Howard Zinn. All domination systems, white supremacy, patriarchy, colonialism, capitalism, and others, depend on three things to maintain their power: disconnecting us from ourselves and our bodies, disconnecting us from each other and community, and disconnecting us from land and other living beings. This sense of alienation perpetuates our sense of powerlessness. It robs us of our agency by telling us that our actions don't matter. But as Howard Zinn shares, our actions do matter greatly. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory.
Thank you, Julian. Julian and I are so grateful for the warm welcome we've received this morning. It's a joy to be with you all in worship. We're especially grateful to Doyle and Beverly for the invitation, and to Larry for your collegiality, and all of the many, many UUSC members who call First Unitarian Wilmington home. I would love to name all of you, but I know some of you would prefer that I didn't do that. And I don't want this sermon to sound like a graduation ceremony, which is what it would sound like, because there are so many committed supporters of UUSC here today in this room and watching from home. A journey to Wilmington in November to be with you all has become an annual tradition for me in the time I've been on UUSC staff, and it is one that I treasure. This is a complicated time of year, isn't it? And a tender one as well. I know many of you have given and continue to give immense amounts of time and energy going into the midterm elections to get out the vote. Thank you so much for that work. Thank you for those who are going to continue doing that work for the Georgia runoff. It's also a time when gratitude and grief are intermingled as we mark Thanksgiving and honor the National Day of Mourning with our Indigenous siblings. Gratitude and grief are often found together, aren't they? Especially now. We celebrate the loved ones we gather with while missing those who are not at the table. We cheer for the election results that indicate that a more just and equitable future we dream of might not be off the table after all, while knowing that racist, anti-immigrant, anti-woman, anti-trans rhetoric did win some elections. And the harm done when our rights and the rights of those we love are on ballots is real. Many of us woke up this morning to the news of the mass shooting in Colorado Springs at a gay nightclub. This is also the Trans Day of Remembrance. And I'm holding our queer community in such tender love right now. Defying hate with joy is a marvelous victory, as Julian said. We marvel at the beauty of the autumn leaves or the spectacular sunset, and we worry about what the future holds for our precious planet. We are grateful, and we grieve. The same is true for our UUSC partners the world over. Joy and sorrow, gratitude and grief, the threads of everyday life. The threads that connect us to each other if we take the time to witness them. We use the words partner and partnership a great deal at UUSC because our grassroots partners, small groups of leaders and visionaries who are directly impacted by oppression and human rights violations, are at the center of our work. Because we believe that communities bearing the brunt of climate-forced displacement, criminalization, and humanitarian crisis are also the communities that hold solutions. This belief is at the core of everything we do at UUSC. This belief in the inherent worth and power of every person. This is why we engage in partnerships, not transactions. We are not benefactors. Our partners are not beneficiaries of our charitable largesse. We are in the movement for liberation together, not outside of it. The Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, UUSC's resident scholar and special advisor on justice and equity, recently wrote of UUSC that it is so rare in the world of justice making to allow the voices of those who know best to emphasize the wholeness and values of their community, rather than being turned into an inspiration story to convince us to contribute. It is rare that we remind one another of our humanity in the work of human rights. I believe that this investment in communities outside our own is how we know ourselves to be human, holy, and whole. It's not about charity, and it is not remotely about knowing the best way forward ourselves. It is instead about trusting our beloved's own knowing and experiencing gratitude and praise when we are invited to be part of the solution. I knew this on some level when I came to work at UUSC. I love the values that form the foundation of the way we do justice work. And I saw it in practice on a daily basis, witnessing the empathy, resourcefulness, and humility of our UUSC staff. But I don't think I really understood the depth and power of our partnerships until June 2020, when George Floyd was murdered. And in the days that followed, our office received an outpouring of sympathy and messages of solidarity from our international partners, because they knew what I was still learning, what I am still learning. Our struggles for justice are all connected. They may look different on the surface. They may involve different cultural assumptions and different cast of geopolitical players, but the core issues, the core pain, the core desire to live free from violence and oppression are the same. Militarized violence and a refugee crisis in Ukraine and in Burma are connected. Anti-immigrant rhetoric and the rise of fascism in Hungary and in the United States are connected. Indigenous people losing their homes due to the effects of climate change in the South Pacific, Alaska, and Louisiana are connected. This is why global solidarity is so important, especially now. We need to be able to see these threads of connection no matter where we are located and what justice work we are furthering. Zsolt Zsekerish, legal coordinator for the Hungarian Helsinki Committee's refugee program and one of the featured guests in this year's Guest at Your Table program, has been working with UUSC since we began our partnership with the Hungarian Helsinki Committee in 2015 in response to the Syrian refugee crisis. And Zsolt is now working to serve the influx of people fleeing into Hungary from Ukraine. He spoke to me recently about what UUSC's solidarity and support means for them. For us, said Zsolt, especially in a time when the Hungarian government was moving not only to curtail the rights of asylum seekers and migrants, but also to intimidate those who help them through the introduction of repressive laws in 2017 and through the use of hate-mongering and fear-mongering language by government officials. We were in dire need of any assistance and help in terms of publicity, moral support, and financial support for the activities that carry out the protection of asylum seekers and the general rule of law in Hungary. It was very uplifting that our partners, including UUSC, did not abandon us in this fight. And the response that we got from UUSC was that despite the government's clear efforts to shut us down, you will stand behind us and keep supporting this important work that we do. Ineza Umuhoza Grace, co-founder of the Loss and Damage Youth Coalition, lives in Rwanda and is another featured guest at this year's Guest at Your Table. She is currently at COP27 in Egypt with some of our UUSC colleagues, ensuring that the voices of those most impacted by the climate crisis are being heard by world governments. UUSC was the first funder of the Loss and Damage Youth Coalition, an organization of youth from the global north and global south who joined together to drive action, demand justice, and address loss and damage brought on by climate change. Of UUSC's solidarity and support, Ineza said, "You were our first donor, and having you allowed us to be able to catalyze other funding because you know how this system works. Once you have one funder, you're able to get the next one," which is really incredible. So UUSC was the first philanthropy to take the risk because we were a bunch of young people working all night. We didn't have an office, telling you that we need a couple $1,000s, and you just trusted that we know what we want and how we want it. This was a big step because when UUSC trusted us, we were able to do what we wanted to do and then set a baseline to still be able to do what we want to do. Last week, in collaboration with UUSC's communications team, Ineza was able to get an article about the demands of youth at COP27 published in Common Dreams. In the article, Ineza writes, "In 2020, when the world was facing the global pandemic, it became too evident that developing countries were facing devastating climate impacts. We come together as youth leaders from the global north and south to demand loss and damage resources and resolute action to address loss and damage, especially in frontline communities. Dedicated financing for loss and damage programming is a strong step towards global solidarity. Now that countries like Scotland and Denmark have spoken up, we are seeing clear steps towards our shared goal of resourcing an issue in dire need of attention." Thank you, Ineza. It is important to remember that the biggest challenge we face is not one leader or one party or one issue that fails to recognize the human rights of some people. The biggest challenge we face is the systems by which we organize our shared lives. Politically, economically, and socially, these systems have been designed in no small part to keep us disconnected. to ensure that we forget our kinship, that we all have worth, that we all belong, and that we only thrive when we thrive together. As the political theorist Brian Stout wrote in his blog that Julian read from this morning, all domination systems, white supremacy, patriarchy, colonialism, capitalism, and all the rest depend on three things in order to maintain their power: disconnecting us from ourselves and our bodies, disconnecting us from each other and community, and disconnecting us from land and other living beings. This sense of alienation perpetuates our sense of powerlessness. It robs us of our agency by telling us that our actions don't matter. But our faith tells us otherwise, right? Unitarian Universalism tells us that connection and interdependence are real and our actions do matter. So many of the systems that order our lives politically, economically, and socially are powered by racism, patriarchy, and extractive capitalism. If our faith calls us to justice grounded in the inherent worth and dignity of life itself, we must find ways, large and small, to reject these systems and create new ones. And I am so grateful that we have the opportunity to do just this through UUSC's mission and through the work of our remarkable partners around the world who are creating justice and advancing human rights. Again, speaking on the mission of UUSC and of solidarity with our global partners, Reverend Dr. Benincourt says, "I believe our humanity is grounded in the goodness of what can be in this life, that it grows in response to the simple belief that together we can contribute to the well-being of all. The tides of violence and uncertainty, illness and strife continually offer us the lie that we live separate from one another and in a constant state of competition, that there will never be enough, that we can never be enough, and that it's not worth trying. Our organizers and activists, may they forever be blessed, work tirelessly to remind us that our greatest power manifests through our connections to each other and the disruptions of patterns that seek to discourage us from the belief in our own wholeness. We can find hope in UUSC's partners and communities deeply impacted by injustice, facing seemingly insurmountable odds against them, who still devote themselves to connections that heal because they know that nothing else will lead us to the world where all enjoy basic human rights. Global solidarity matters. Our gratitude and our grief matter, and they are connected. And it is through our connections that healing and liberation for all people will be found. And in this season of gratitude and connection, I want to thank you, First Unitarian, faithful justice lovers, for being part of UUSC's work. We are an extension of your love in the world. Several weeks ago, Beverly Baxter shared the story of UUSC's founding over 80 years ago, when a small group of Unitarians traveled to Prague to get as many Jews and political dissidents to safety as possible as the Nazis continued their march across Europe. Then and now, when a community calls out for justice, UUSC is part of the answer that you give the world. Thank you. Continuing the practice of gratitude, I want to share with you a powerful blessing created by poet, activist, and teacher Adrienne Marie Brown. Brown encourages us to say these words upon meeting a stranger comrade, or friend working for social and or environmental justice and liberation. So I ask you to take a breath, one that feels good for your body, and relax your gaze. I invite you to imagine one of UUSC's partners. Their pictures are above me now. Perhaps Ineza or Zoltz, Nawa or Ian. All of them are guests this year. Imagine saying these words to them, and imagine them too saying them back to you. You are a miracle walking. I greet you with wonder. In a world which seeks to own your joy and your imagination, you have chosen to be free every day as a practice. I can never know the struggles you went through to get here, but I know you have swum upstream, and at times it has been lonely. I want you to know I honor the choices you made in solitude. I honor the work you've done to belong. I honor your commitment to that which is larger than yourself and your journey to the particular container of life that is you. You are enough. Your work is enough. You are needed. Your work is sacred. You are here, and I am grateful. Thank you, friends. Amen, and blessed be.
Well, you probably just heard a little beep. That's because I forgot to put my phone on silence. Sorry about that. For our stewardship moment today, I'd like to start off by making a few kind of in-house comments. I want to congratulate all of you who have participated in our Guest at Your Table program in whatever way you've participated. And I want to congratulate and thank all of you who have made contributions to UUSC, not just during this time, but throughout the 12 months of the year. And I know that a lot of you contribute, and I really appreciate that because of my own commitment to UUSC. Beverly and I have been very closely associated with UUSC for many years. We think it's a very significant organization. We think it's worth investing our time and our resources to help them accomplish their mission. And I think that a lot of you do too. But you know, we have a gimmick here. It's called honey. You know about the honey? Well, you know, a lot of you buy honey. I donate honey every year for the Guest at Your Table program, and actually I donate it throughout the year, but probably most of you don't know that. But anyway, I thoroughly enjoy donating honey, especially when you buy it, and then the proceeds go to UUSC. Well, this year, I offered something in addition to that. If you buy the honey, I'll double the contribution. And I'm amazed at how many of you have taken me up on that. I may run out of honey. Now, I have about 700,000 bees in my backyard, and they've agreed that they'll keep working as long as... So anyway, the long and short of it is, I have honey on the table, the literature table for guests at your table in UUSC in the parish hall. If you want to buy some today, that would be great. But I want to also promote another idea, and that is, I think all of you received this guest at your table envelope in the mail recently, right? Well, don't throw it away. Take the time to, you can either fill out the flap and you can send in a contribution with a credit card, or you can write a check and put it in this little envelope and mail it off, and it will be received at UUSC. And we these little boxes around the church, we used to use those little boxes. They were very popular. But we don't do that so much anymore. But we still have these boxes. So if you'd like to have a souvenir, take one of these boxes home with you. And I would suggest that you put it on your kitchen table, and that way every time you sit down to eat, guest at your table. Maybe I should remember that. Anyway, that's just a slight idea of something you might do. Well, today, as part of our stewardship moment, I'd like to propose that I think all of us together, as well as individually, we are in a financial stewardship partnership with UUSC. That's the way I think of it. An individual financial stewardship partnership. And it's that partnership that helps us to accomplish what we hope to accomplish, and that is through our work with UUSC to help to build a better world. And I've asked Laura to make a few comments about, from her perspective, being on the staff there, to let us know how important our contributions are. Laura?
Thank you. So I've already had the honor today of speaking about the incredible work our UUSC partners are doing and the ways in which global solidarity is crucial to the work of defending and expanding human rights. And now I want to speak about the other equally vital part of this interwoven work, and that is you. So First Church in Wilmington is now and has been a steadfast partner in this work for decades. You are, year after year, one of UUSC's most generous congregational partners. I want you to think about that. You are one of our most generous congregational partners. I think you know you're probably not the largest Unitarian Universalist congregation there is, and yet you're one of our most generous partners. Your commitment to justice comes through your support of Guest at Your Table, your support of UUSC's emergency relief efforts, bolstering the work in Haiti and Ukraine, and of course by creating a space for worship services just like this one. And it can sound trite to say, but this work does not happen without you. We are your service committee. As I said in the sermon, we are an extension of your love in the world. Julian and I get the immense privilege of coming here to share about the work you are doing in collaboration with our partners around the world, work that you, First Unitarian, are doing with Zolt at the Hungarian Helsinki Committee, with Ineza at the Loss and Damage Youth Coalition, with Na Wakushi at the Korean Peace Support Network in Burma, and with Ian at the Queer Detainee Empowerment Center in New York. and with all of UUSC's grassroots partners and organizations around the world. I want you to know, too, that our partners, they think about you. They ask about you, and they consider you co-conspirators for justice. Know that they are glad that you have joined in solidarity with them. If you're not already a member of UUSC, I hope you will consider becoming one today. A gift of any amount makes you a member, and gifts of $150 or more are matched dollar for dollar by a generous grant from the UU congregation of Shelter Rock. And now I've heard being matched in honey as well. My goodness, what abundance, what riches. Together, we hold in community care both the unthinkable losses that are happening every single day and the remarkable healing and hope that is born in courageous connection and commitment to justice. It is the beauty and precious gift of life that we are called to protect and preserve for every person, for all of life. And I hope, too, that you will stay after the vegan potluck to hear about more ways you can be part of UUSC's work of advancing justice. Julie and I will be talking about our congregational accompaniment project for asylum seekers, CAPAS, a program that is wrapping community care around people seeking asylum in the United States by getting them out of immigration detention and connecting them with the resources they need to fight their asylum cases. We're also helping reunify families that were so cruelly separated by the previous administration. If you've been longing for ways to be in deeper relationship with directly impacted families, this might be the opportunity you're looking for. Please come and please give generously.
Thank you, Laura. And I second that. I hope you do too. I hope you will participate. And so as we bring our stewardship time to a close, keep in mind all the different things that you've heard today. We can make a difference. Sometimes it's easy to become discouraged, but we can make a difference. We can't go to Burma or Myanmar or Ukraine probably, but we can support the work of others who can, and that's very important. And so now let us conclude our stewardship time by thinking about the 4 ways that we can give. It's important to give to this church, but it's also important to give to UUSC. And, if you have a checkbook, it's not that hard to write 2 checks. It just takes a little bit more time. You can write one to the church and one to UUSC if you care to do that. But whatever you do, you can contribute to UUSC any day or any month of the year. And so as we dedicate our offering today, let's think of it in a broader context. We're dedicating our offering for the work of this church, and we're dedicating our offering for the work of UUSC. So let us now repeat together our in unison our offering dedication. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. And now we have the
Bring your songs of grateful praise. Come, be thankful, people come.
Thank you so much. Friends, may we find moments of renewal in the coming days and months. May our beloveds, partners laboring on behalf of refugees and of the earth itself feel the power of our love and commitment lending them strength. May all those in harm's way be protected and know the goodness of what life can be. And may we continue to grow collectively as a people as we vision a new world into being. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 170 in the gray hymnal. We are a gentle, angry people.
You may be seated. As we extinguish our chalice today, we put out the light, but we do not put out the light of justice. We can carry the light of justice with us. And an anonymous person has said, "Be a light unto yourself, build your own confidence, and be a light to others to help them build confidence." And hopefully we can follow that advice. And so we extinguish our chalice, but let us go into the community and the world with confidence and commitment to help bend the moral arc of the universe towards justice. We close our service today with the postlude, and that will take us into the other activities that we've announced.